But let's talk more about the United States' potential involvement in Iran. And David Common, who's covered so much in terms of war and military defense strategy, is with me this morning. So welcome and thank you for coming in. This whole question, this controversial, consequential decision about should the U.S. join Israel's airstrikes, if it does, what would it bring?
Yeah, and I can't answer the should they, but
right.
I can tell you what would happen should they actually get themselves involved. They have technology, weaponry, munitions in particular, that no one else in the world has, certainly that the Israelis do not have. And so they would quite likely be involved in targeting the Fordow nuclear enrichment facility. It is deep underground, and striking it with conventional weapons simply doesn't work, the type of weapons that Israel has. What the Americans could do is bring in a B-2 stealth bomber and put in that what is called a massive ordnance penetrator. It's a 30,000-pound bomb that actually travels so fast it shoots into the ground, buries itself into the ground, and results in a massive explosion. That could destroy that facility, which would essentially set Iran's nuclear program back by years and years and years.
End it totally, or just...
It would effectively end it totally. They'd have to start from scratch all over again.
Which is the end goal, as Donald Trump has said.
There's another weapon that was used in Iraq, was used in Afghanistan. It is called the mother of all bombs, colloquially. It blows up in midair and causes such a blast radius that about 2.5, 3 kilometers are completely destroyed, including underneath the ground. They have that capability. We know they have been moving the aircraft they need into that region. They do so by leaving the U.S., both with the fighter and the bomber aircraft, but also refueling planes. And it's like a gas station in the air. They are just constantly refueling, flying into the region. So the U.S. President, Donald Trump, now has, in that region, the assets that he would need should he order a strike.
And we're looking at these images. They've been bringing the aircraft in as well, capable of refueling mid-flight. So all of that... you know, the analysis we had just last hour from Thomas Warwick in the United States, he doesn't believe that it's going to happen. He thinks it's a pressure tactic to get Iran back to the negotiating table. But all of the indications are, with the defenses moving into position, that it could be there if.
It could be there if. And you use military power in different ways. You certainly can use military power to strike, but as you're alluding to, you can also use it as a pressure tactic to say, if you don't, we are serious, we have this here. It is the way in which you project or exert your power abroad. That's what the Americans are doing right now, particularly by sharing those images. I mean, that's not just a news helicopter that's flying in the sky tracking these things along. The Americans are putting that out so it is seen by the Iranians in particular to show the seriousness with which they have. There are other things the Americans could do other than striking that Fordow facility. They could target what is left of Iran's anti-aircraft defense systems. There's not a lot, because the Israelis have been operating more or less freely in certain corridors of the country where they have taken out certain systems, Russian-built systems that the Russians are either unable or unwilling to replace, at least in very short order. It puts a lot of countries in a tough position, but a lot of this does come down to, if President Trump decides to exert power in a real way, putting the United States into this conflict exposes Americans in the region, thousands of them, who are at military bases, embassies, who may just be elsewhere, either in the direct line of an Iranian military response or some other proxy group. There aren't many proxy groups left for the Iranians. You know, Hezbollah, Hamas, deeply hurt. The Houthis still exist and are still a threat, particularly in sea denial, trying to stop the passage of a huge amount of global trade. But they've been hit hard by both the Israelis and the Americans, among other forces. Okay.
So just before I let you go again, so they've already attacked. Israel has had some good success in 2 of the other nuclear enrichment facilities, but just to understand Fordow, if we can go back to again. So it's deep below ground, protected by this mountain where the enrichment goes on of uranium. And for us to understand, the level that I've been hearing is it's 60% enriched. To get to weapons grade, it would need to be 90% enriched.
But that takes weeks.
It takes weeks.
Like, not that many weeks. You can do it quite quickly.
That's the breakout period, they call it that?
Getting up to 60 takes a long time. Getting up to 90 is a very short period of time. And so that's the concern, is that they would be able to rapidly go that way. There's also the thought, the Iranians, in fact, have said they've started to move some of the enriched uranium that they have out of that facility. That doesn't mean they can enrich it because they don't necessarily have the equipment elsewhere, but they may be trying to put it in other places. You can bet the Israelis and the Americans have been watching for weeks any movement going on out of that facility.
It's so interesting, David, and you've helped us understand it so well, why we're talking about the importance of the U.S. joining the military effort, why Israel wants those U.S. assets, and we'll be back to you if we need to, because again, we're waiting for some decision. Okay, David, thank you so very much. David Common now hosts Metro Morning on CBC Radio, but of course continues to report with us on CBC Television.